Hey guys, I hope you're doing good. I actually got sick yesterday, and I'm now stuck at home. I tested twice whether I'm COVID positive, but I'm negative, so I'm just suffering from a flu. But actually today I'm much better. Yesterday I was like really bad. My head hurt, I had no energy. I just felt miserable. I haven't felt like that in a long time, so I'm very glad today I'm a lot better. Um, so yeah, I want to talk about body dysmorphia because probably every person with an ED suffers from it. And I'm not talking about like when you're at the end of your recovery. I'm rather like in your ED itself and at the beginning, and kind of like what lessons you can draw from body dysmorphia. So I think I already talked about it, but again, I find it just so interesting and so crazy. By the way, sorry for my like posture, but I thought like I'm just gonna chill. So when I was in my ED, obviously I had body dysmorphia. We all know how it is. We feel a lot bigger than we actually are. I mean, there are exceptions, and sometimes I would see photos of myself and be like, damn, I'm actually really skinny. Or sometimes I would see maybe my collarbones or just this area was always really skinny. Like generally, I these collarbones they stick out a lot for me. No matter how big I am, you can always see them. Um, Obviously, when I was in my ED, they would stick out a lot. It was really crazy. But what bothered me was this part, like you could see my ribs, or not my ribs, but the bones, and it was not aesthetic at all. I hated it. So that was one thing that I knew, like I was really skinny because of that. But for example, I would always think my thighs are way too big, even though they were very small. And looking back, I just looked incredibly skinny. But what I find more interesting or more shocking is that when I got into my first recovery try and I gained a few kilos, I was so convinced that I was big, like fat. Even though looking back and also looking at my weight back then, I was still skinny. And I think nobody even realized that I gained weight because I remember one time I was wearing like black jeans and I was telling my grandma that I gained weight, and she was like, I don't see it. And for me, the difference was immense. I thought I looked like a whale. So I thought, like, what the hell is she talking about? She's just saying that. And then I remember one time I went to my dad's house, and I don't know, sometimes he has really weird things he says, or he's a little bit discriminating against anyone who's not white, skinny, and beautiful. But it's not that he doesn't like the people, he just likes to kind of make comments about it whenever someone is, yeah, not the standard. Um, so for not that he's super racist, but for example, or like really fat shaming, but whenever someone is not skinny, he would like comment it like, yeah, but he's a little bit, you know, blah blah blah. Instead of just leaving that out and just not caring about it. But then again, he's super friendly to everyone. He doesn't discriminate for real. He just likes to make comments, and he himself is a very skinny, white, tall man, so he's the privilege in itself. So I guess he just doesn't really understand that, yeah, it hurts, like getting these comments, but he doesn't say it to the people. But anyway, because I knew that he liked to comment about people being a little bit overweight or like curvy, I was so scared that he would judge me because I wasn't that skinny anymore. But looking back, I was very skinny. So I remember this one time I went to his house, which is maybe 10-minute walk from my house. In the middle of the way, like on the road, I just stopped and I cried so hard because I was so ashamed of myself for gaining weight. I was so scared that he would think I'm so ugly and like not a good daughter or whatever because I gained weight. And literally looking back, and I'm always saying it, but I think in my quasi recovery, I was extremely the beauty ideal. So I was still very skinny, but I looked healthy, not. So I don't know, just thinking about like me being so scared of people thinking I was fat when I was still skinny, and then this mindset not changing until after recovery. So no matter what weight I was always the same amount of anxious about it. So you can see that everything is in your mind. No matter what you look like, you could think you're fat or you're blah blah blah. Um, and that's also kind of why I understand why some people think or like always talk about how fat they feel, blah blah blah, even though they're completely normal, and it's very annoying to hear that. But of course, you have to understand that if your mindset is like that, or if you just have these thoughts or created these thoughts, you will feel that way no matter what you actually look like. So you have to try to isolate your mindset from, yeah, you just have to take out of all of these negative thoughts, and that's very difficult, but it's manageable. And one thing to do is just affirmations. I'm a big fan of them because you literally, it's so easy, you just have to tell yourself what you want to believe or what you want to happen in real life. So for example, I would always tell myself like I'm normal sized, I look beautiful, everyone loves me, and things like that. I would just look in the mirror and tell myself these things, even though I was crying and feeling bad. I would just overly tell myself these things. And what it should do to you is that kind of like you have your, imagine you go to school and every day you wake up and you're like, oh shit, I just don't have any motivation. Over time, this will be like your standard thoughts because you thought it so many times that at some point it's gonna be for like normal for you to not be motivated. If you then change this thought and always tell yourself, even though you're not motivated, you just tell yourself like, oh, I'm really motivated to learn something new today. I know that sounds very cringy, but I hope you get what I mean. At some point, even though at the beginning you won't believe it, for sure not, it will take a few weeks or months even, but at some point, because you always tell yourself, it will turn into a real thought and it will affect your subconscious. So in the end, what you have to do is you always have to tell yourself what you want to believe until you believe it. Yeah, it's as easy as that. And then secondly, you will have to stop focusing so much on the way you look or the way people look, and start focusing on other areas of life, because honestly looks are such a small part of your actual life and they are not as important as you might think. So yeah, these are kind of like my tips tips on how to handle body dysmorphia. And I mean, at some point you will gain a lot of weight and maybe you won't be body dysmorphia, you will just see yourself the way you are and you will think it's too big. But then the same thing applies, you just have to believe that you are beautiful, and you are. It literally, everything is a construct of society, telling yourself that you being bigger than the average is something bad is a very modern type of thinking, because I don't know, 200 years ago when food was scarce, it was a really good thing to be big. So literally everything has to do with the beauty standard at the moment. And yeah, I mean, also for example, I'm gonna show you my body type because I think I told you, but I have really like hourglassy figure. Okay, it doesn't look that much like it, but I have really like wide hips. You know what I mean? Like they just go out. And right now, that's kind of like the beauty standard, okay? But when I was a teenager, it definitely wasn't. Like my friends were all really, they had very narrow hips. And now I was so jealous of that. I would hate myself for having wide hips. And then this belief stuck with me until like maybe a year ago. I could not handle having wide hips, even though they're not that wide, but you know what I mean. Until I really started also looking at people with similar figures as me instead of, I don't know, always looking at models. And then, of course, the whole Kim Kardashian trend, it started also influencing me, and I started appreciating my body instead of still being focused on me being jealous of my small, narrow, hip-wided friends back then. So I'm just saying, no matter what you look like, you will always have insecurities, and these insecurities nearly always stem from some type of ideal or experience you've had. Yeah, so that's that. And also, for example, I never disliked my nose, and then once my friend, now she really is my friend, back then she was in a very teenage weird phase. Now she would never say something like that, but she made fun of my nose, and it really hurt me. And then I started really focusing on my nose, and all I could ever see was like how my nose looked like and stuff like that. So it's just, no matter what you do, you will always have something kind of like to that you don't like because it doesn't fit the standard. So what you can try to achieve is to accept yourself, but to not force yourself to find yourself absolutely incredible, because of course it makes you feel happy when you look good on a certain day, but also it's a lot more easy if you just feel very neutral towards your body. You just appreciate it, but you don't like make your mood dependent on the way you look, because it will just stress you out. Yeah, okay, I'm now feeling quite ready to start with my schoolwork, and then I have an online lecture, and I'm gonna miss out on a lecture, but I think it's gonna be okay. I don't, even though I seem very energetic right now, I try it because I cannot go a day without dancing. It's really crazy. And I don't mean dancing in the sense of a choreography, but I just love listening to music in my bathroom and just dance. And then I feel so tired after like 5 minutes. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to go out of the house to go and watch the lecture in real life. So I'm just gonna miss one, but it's okay. Alrighty, guys, I hope you can start really accepting and loving yourself the way you are, even though it's super hard because our society is so focused on bodies. Luckily, in my country, Switzerland, people are not that focused on bodies, but for example, my grandmother, she's Spanish, and in Spain, the way you look is so important. And every time I go there, I just feel really judged. So I'm very lucky to live in a country where people are not that judgy. But still, of course, it's not always easy. So yeah, bye guys.